Just quick demo of different Unix commands that I find helpful just going about my daily life. The kind of the moral that I want to push here is you don't always have to do stuff in VS Code. You can be productive just in the terminal. And sometimes this is nice, especially if you're just working in the terminal when you're like SSH into a remote machine and you don't have access to VS Code, you can quickly make a change. These are all the different commands I'm going to cover, and I'll just go through them. If you have any questions, just feel free to chime in anytime. Yeah, you should probably know some of them. Some of them you probably don't know. So let's just go from top to bottom. pwd prints the working directory, the absolute path of where we are right now. cd goes to a different directory. You can also use tab autocomplete to quickly select the directory that you want to go into. This works for paths, so it works the same for ls as well. ls like list stuff. Right now it's just listing the current directory. If I want to list the parent directory, ls ... Often the arguments I use for ls is -l, so this gives you the long form, gives you more information besides the file name. Also gives the permissions, the data is modified, the size. If you want meaningful size, like these sizes are in bytes. So if you want it in something you understand, do you use a -h flag? This is common in many different Unix commands. This gives you a human readable size. But right now, all of these are less than a byte, so it doesn't really do anything. But say, for instance, you are in, let's see. Actually, I won't demo, but usually if you have a large file, like say it's a megabyte large, then this will say 1 million bytes. If you don't use -h, and if you do, it will just say 1M, which is 1 megabyte. Other useful basic commands are pushd and popd. This allows you to quickly go forward and backward and switch between different directories. So right now I'm in Docker example. Let's say I want to go to say about workspace. Instead of using cd, I can use pushd. And I can go, where do I want to go? Pushd git say about workspace. So right now, that seeds me into that directory and also saves the directory that I was in onto the stack. So once I'm done in this directory, I can go popd, and it will go back to where it was. So this is similar to what Devin was talking about before with the cd dash, but it's a bit more robust because you can save multiple directories on the stack and pop and push however you want. In general, if you aren't familiar with the commands, I mean, searching it up on Google is always a great option, but there's also some internal tools you can use. There's the man pages. So if I want to learn more about the arguments of ls, say for instance, I can do man ls, and it gives me this nice write-up of all the commands, and sometimes there's a blurb at the beginning of the command. If you want like a more condensed summary of the command, you can use --help often. And this will just give the argument, I think. Moving on to working with files. First we have cat, and cat just prints out the contents of a file. Right now I have these 4 files in my directory. If I do cat dockerfile, it will print out contents of dockerfile to the terminal. Touch will create a file. I think Devin used this. So let's remove this. Touch creates an empty file. So if I cat test.py, it won't show anything because it's completely empty. Echo will print stuff to the terminal. So let's say, type this. This will print whatever I put in quotation marks to the terminal. But this is really powerful when you combine it with these 2 arrow signs, and this allows you to redirect to files. So let's say I want to put this into test.py. I just do that, and when I cat it again, you can see that test.py now has this line. Other useful commands are less and tail. Less is probably the quickest, easiest way to view files. You can't edit them, but you can view them. So let's say I have a long file and I want to view it. Use less. To navigate in less, use Control D to go down half a page. It's kind of like, no, it is Vim key bindings. So J goes down one line, K goes up one line, D goes down half a page. Control U goes up half a page. And if you want to search stuff, you use / to search forwards. And this is case sensitive, which is a bit annoying. So I'll search for case. And then lowercase n to go forward, uppercase n to go backwards. If you want to reverse search, you can use ? I think. But yeah, these are just Vim commands. If you want to learn more about Vim commands, there's plenty of resources online for that. And tail will print out the end of the file. So this is useful when you're using, when you're looking at log files, because most important stuff is at the very end. You want to know if it passed or if there's an error. So if you just use tail, you can do the same file, vimrc, you'll just see the end of it. There's a way to specify how many lines, like this, There's some way, you can search it up, I can get off the top of my head. Another useful one is tail-f, and this will continuously output the file. So if it's changing, it will continuously monitor the file. You see how it's not returning to the command line or to the prompt. So if there's other processes writing to this file, it'll update this terminal in real time. Okay, on to more working with files. mkdir makes a directory, and if you want to make multiple directories, you can use the -p option. So let's say I want to make a subdirectory, test2. It won't let me unless I use the -p command. Then you can see these files. These directories have been created. Lawn can create links. They can create symbolic links or hard links. And what these are briefly is just a way, it's a file that points to another file. So let's say I make a new file. I create a new symlink. Let's call this lawn s.py, and I want to symlink it to my test.py. Well, this is a hard link. Yeah, okay. So this is a hard link first if you don't specify any options. So this will create a hard link s.py and point it to test.py. So now when I do ls-l, which is the long form of the list, then you can see, okay, that did not point it out, but s.py should point to test.py.
We can see them the same size.
Oh, actually, no, this is a hard link, so it will not point to it. But this kind of, yeah, this dives into the OS level, but essentially they are the exact same file, so if you change one, it will change the other. They point to the same contents, but you access them via different file names. The more common one to use is the symbolic link, the soft link. So this will actually will create a file that just points to another file. So now you can see I created h.py and this points to test.py. When I try to access h.py, it will actually just open test.py. But again, you can learn more about that online. It probably explains it a lot better than I do. rm removes files. If you want to remove a directory, use the -r command for recursive. And if it's locked behind permissions, you use the force command. Very dangerous command, by the way. Make sure you specify the correct path when using this. Copy will copy a file. So this will create a separate copy of the file instead of the link. So if I want to copy test.py, I can copy it into test2.py. And both of them will contain the exact same contents. Move will move a file, same idea. And chmod is used to change the permissions of a file. So when I do ls-l, this first part are the permissions of the file. There's read, write, and execute for groups. What is it? Do you remember?
It's like root, groups, and heathen.
Yeah, something groups and users. So maybe it's the other way around. But the main idea, like how I mostly use chmod, is to make something executable so that let's say I create a bash script. Let's quickly create one. Test.sh echo hello world. So usually if I want to run a bash script, I'd have to call bash. But to make it executable, there's two steps. First, you add the executable permission to the file. So you just do +x to that file. And when I do ls-l, first of all, you'll notice that it turns green. And then this X flag is added. And the last part is you have to specify what executable to use. So for bash, this lives in bin bash. You can do something called a shebang.
Yeah.
Bin bash. Yeah, this is just, I forget what type of convention this is, but this is standard syntax with a semicolon. This is a hashtag, exclamation mark, and then the path to the executable to use. That allows you just to execute the file with test.sh. And another command is chown, which changes the permissions for a file. And these are these sections in the middle here. So right now, I'm the owner of this file. If I go into sudo mode, which I just use the sudo command, and I use that to create a file, test3.py, amazing. Well, first of all, sudo permissions requires you to enter the sudo password. And I did not use that correctly. I have to specify what command I want to run. If you look at test3.py now, you see it's owned by root because I use a sudo command. What you can do is change the permissions of that. Like if I try to access it or edit it right now, just using the normal way, I would use nano. This is another editor that's easier to use. And I try to write to it, which is Control X, save file. Now I get this error that says permission denied. So often if you get a permission denied error, that's because you don't have access to that file. How I'd fix that is with the chown command. Chown, I'll assign myself to use it. But of course, you can't do it right now because it's owned by the root user, so you have to add sudo again. Now when I check ls-l, it's owned by me, and I can edit the file however I want. Yeah, if you want to run multiple commands in the root user, you can do sudo su, and this enters. You see how the prompt changes? Now it says root at xp*, so root is a user. that I currently am, and xp_* is the host name of my computer. So there you can exit whatever commands you want in the root mode. Other useful commands, du and df. So this is a way to view sizes of things. So du, I think it stands for disk usage. Again, you want to use a -h flag for human readable sizes. -hs will just print the size of the current directory. And if you want to go into the subdirectories, you can use the depth flag. Well, actually, if you just do -h, just go through everything that's in the file. It's in the current directory recursively. So you can see that it finds every single file, no matter how deep it is, and reports their size. And this is the human readable sizes that I was talking about. So this is kilobytes and megabytes. There's also an option to specify a maximum depth to go to. This is the D command. So let's say I just want to go into 2 directories recursively. See, it's going to 2 directories and stopping there and just reporting the size of everything that's in that directory. The df command prints the sizes of all the disks that you have on your system. Or yeah, your file system. So the main one here is, C is my Windows directory, so you can see that. There's a WSL directory and a bunch of other things that we don't have to worry about too much right now. Okay, moving on to find and grep. So find is a way to find, if you know that a file exists and you know its name, but you don't know where it lives, then you can use find-name. I want to find -name test.py. So this returns to me all instances of test.py recursively in the directory. So let's say I go into the test directory and I create another test.py. And I run that find command again. It'll return the path to both those files. Grep, instead of searching for files, it searches for the contents within the files. So let's say I know somewhere I use NumPy, but I don't know where. I can use grep recursive NumPy. And that returns every instance inside the current directory and inside all the files in the current directory that NumPy is used. Other useful commands, Control-R in history. So to search for a command that you previously used, you can use Control-R. This reverse searches through your history. So let's see what the last touch command I used was. That was touch test.py. If I want to execute it, I can press enter. If I want to edit it, I can press the arrow key. And then history allows you to view your past commands. So let's say I want to view the past 10 commands. I can use history -10. Oh, history 10. Okay, I think this one's probably the last one that is generally useful. PSaux prints out the processes that are running on your system right now, all of them at once. And it gives you the PID and the command that was used and the time that it started. Sometimes you have stuff running in the background that you want to kill. So you would use a kill command for this, and you would give it its PID. So for instance, if I wanted to kill the init command, which I do not recommend that you do, you would do kill 2. And if that doesn't work, sometimes you can try to force kill with -9. This sends like a signal, sigint signal. We'll learn that in the OS class as well. And the last thing is if you want to like find commands that you want to kill, like it's a Python command, but you don't know the exact command, you can use psaux in combination with grep. So right now, what a pipe does, which is this vertical bar, is that it feeds the output of the command on the left into the input of the command on the right. So right now, what this does is prints out all the processes that are running, and then it searches that output for anything that contains Python 3. So this returns all these processes. Another cool command is awk. So let's say I just want to get all the process IDs of these processes. I would do awk print 1, which is the first column here. And that gives you all the process IDs. And if I wanted to kill all of them, I just do die. But I won't execute that. That might be bad. Nano and Vim, these are text editors. What do you think? People in the audience, do you want to cover SSH or tmux, or is that okay? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. I'll quickly cover them. SSH, I mean, I think everyone's used SSH, but the one thing that makes it really nice is when you can SSH without using a password all the time, and this is using key-based authentication. So if you go to your SSH directory, which is in home/.ssh, there's a couple different files that are created. There's a config, which you can use to specify like aliases for your host names. So right now in my config, I have a couple different servers that I can access. For instance, like usually when you SSH, you have to do like SSH user at machine. But what the config allows me to do is specify like a name for that machine and like the port, the user, and the host name that I want to use. So instead of SSH asterisk at this IP address, I can just do SSH NASA. What else is there? For key-based authentication, I'll just recommend you search up how to set that up. So that will allow you to SSH into a machine without providing your password every single time. And lastly, in terms of commands, I want to cover tmux. This comes with a lot of different distributions by default. And this allows you to run many different terminals in one terminal, I guess. So I run the tmux command. I'm in tmux. And I can create different windows. So you can see on the bottom, I now have 3 different windows open. I can switch between them. I can also split screen. Right, so that's cool, I guess. Yeah, so this allows you, like, if you're SSH into a machine, to work with multiple terminals really easily. And another benefit of tmux is it allows you to run like long-running processes without killing it on a remote machine. So when you SSH into a machine and then you exit out of it, it will automatically kill all the processes that you started running. So to get around that, you can SSH into the machine, run tmux, and then run the command here, and then detach from this tmux instance. So actually this tmux instance is still running in the background, and then when you exit, it's going to continue running. When you want to check up on it again, you can SSH into the machine and then attach to this instance. So right now this is instance 0, so I'll do attach terminal 0. Now I'm back to where I was before. Briefly touching on dot files, this is a way to customize different software that you use. The most common ones to customize are like Bash, your shell, and Git is another one, or Vim. Vim's also very popular to customize, just to make it how you want. And there's lots of resources, YouTube videos, or articles online about what's like the most efficient way to do certain things. I'd recommend you check them out. But for Bash in particular, one thing that's useful, or ZSH, whatever shell you're using, what's nice is to set up aliases for longer commands. So this just saves time. For instance, one of my aliases is alias git, g equals git, so I don't have to type out git every time. I can just do g. And you know, it adds up when you can save stuff. Git commands can get like super long, like git rebase, whatever, interactive, right? So I have that just alias to git rebase interactive. So it's a lot quicker to do. But the git aliases, those are set up in the git config file, which is here. These are all my aliases. Other things that are useful to know about is the path. So whenever you try to run a command, what the computer will try to do is look for the command and where, like an executable for that command, and if it exists at certain paths. And this is stored in the path environment variable. So you can print this out with echo $path. So this prints out the value of the path environment variable. So each path in the environment variable is separated by a colon. For instance, the first one here is .local bin in my home directory. So if I ls that, you can see that there's a number of different executables that are living there. So if I run chezmoi, this is where it's finding it from. And we can verify that with the which command. So which prints the path where it finds the executable. So as we expect, it lives in .local bin chezmoi. And then moving on to just optimization and customization, you may notice that some parts of my terminal looks really nice, like I have colors as well. Those are all like modern features that do not come out of the box from any Linux distribution. Briefly, ZSH is a modern alternative to Bash. It has a couple different improvements. Starship is a custom prompt, so that's what I'm using right here. Automatically finds like the Python version I'm using, if there's Python files in the directory, prints out the path. If I'm in a Git repository, prints out the branch, and if there's any changes in it. FD is a modern equivalent to find, and it's just a lot faster and nicer to work with. Like I don't have to specify the name branch, I can just Docker example, fd test.py, and it's colored, which is nice. Dust is a modern alternative to DU, and it just looks a lot nicer and prints out like this whole tree. Obviously, I have a lot of files here, but yeah, that's very useful. So you can see like Git is my largest directory inside my home directory, and then it just keeps on going down. What's the largest directory in that? What's the largest directory in that? And what percentage of my total like disk usage does that take up? Bat is a modern alternative to cat. Just makes it colored and it has line numbers. LSD is a modern equivalent to LS. I think it provides colors. Ripgrep is to grep. It's a lot faster. Z is for CD, and that's what allows me to specify partial paths. So since I go to Sailbot Workspace a lot, it knows like that name, Sailbot Workspace, and even if I just specify sail, it knows, it fuzzy finds, it's like, okay, you're probably talking about Sailbot Workspace, that's where you've been before, and then it goes there. So that's a lot faster than typing out paths. NeoVim is a modern alternative to Vim. There's just a lot more customization that you can do there. And yeah. Another thing that I would recommend you use on Windows is Windows Terminal. So you can download this on the Microsoft Store. And it just looks really nice. This is what this window is. You can open all the various terminals that you have or shells that you have on Windows from one place, one app. You can easily split screen, Alt/D. You can open new tabs, and all of this is customizable. So really, the sky's the limit in terms of customization. I probably wasted a bit too much time doing this. Could have been more productive just working on stuff, but you know, it feels nice sometimes. Alacrity is a similar terminal for Linux and Mac, which I recommend and I've used before. Okay, that's about all that I wanted to share. Any questions? Okay, if not, I think that's it. Thanks for attending, and talk to you guys later.